guys, welcome to this video where I answer all your questions about my mole removals. I didn't think anybody would actually be interested, to be honest with you, so I was just going to make a story post, but after a few questions and messages that I got, I thought it's just easier to make a video where I can actually describe the whole process and yeah, everything that it entails really, and it's just more informative. Hopefully I answer all the questions that you have about removing moles, and if you have any other extra questions, just send them my way and I'll happily answer them. But yeah, let's get into it. I just thought this video would make so much more sense if I didn't wear makeup, so you could see what moles and spots that I was pointing to, whereas if I wore makeup you probably wouldn't even know what the hell I was talking about. But yeah, if you're wondering why I'm not wearing makeup in this video, that is the reason why. Okay, so before I start answering the questions, I should probably start showing you the spots that are around my face and what I actually got removed. So in the two pictures, the picture on the left is a day straight after the treatment, and this is a really good picture or example to show you because when you get your spots lasered off, the day after or a few days later, the spots become much darker before they start to slowly fade away or flake off. And so you can see in this picture, in all the darker spots, those are the areas that I got lasered. And the picture on the right is about 10 days after the treatment, and you can see that slowly they're starting to fade away and they get much lighter. I mean, the one on my neck and on my brow is still there, and then the ones on my forehead, which I'll explain in the video the reason why that they're still there as well, but you can see already that it's gotten so much better and everything has just lightened significantly. Okay, so the first question was, who did I get my moles removed with and why did I choose them? So I got my moles removed with Dr. Ed, and I'll pop his clinic website down in the description box. But I chose him because when I was doing like a Google research years and years ago, I actually found him 3 years ago and I made a consultation with him. I'm just jumping from story to story now, but I actually made a consultation with him a couple of years ago. But the way I found him was really just through Google, and he was one of the first people that came up, and his website looked great and he specialized in removing moles, and I think that's really important when you're looking for someone to do something like this. I think with certain beauty spots that are so minor, maybe you can just kind of get away with getting someone random to laser it off, but I think with any like bigger or like more prominent moles, especially the ones on your face, you just really want to be careful with who you choose because again, it's your face, the money maker, you know. That's the first thing people see, so you just want to make sure you do your research and you make a good choice. So that's why I chose him, because he specialized in it and he was one of the first Google searches that came up, and it looks pretty legitimate anyway. So whoever's doing his ads and marketing is doing a great job because he's the first thing that comes up. Back to me doing a consultation with him 3 years ago, he was great. The only reason I chose not to do it at the time was because I didn't have money. I just really wanted to get rid of them, but it wasn't, one, a priority, and two, I just didn't have the money for it. I did do some research around with some clinics in the city that do it for a little bit cheaper, I believe, but yeah, for me it was just easier to put my trust in a dermatologist. Yeah, it just made sense. So question number 2 is, what did I get removed? So in total, I have to double check, I got 12 spots removed. So I got 3 spots removed that were raised spots and 9 flat spots. And so now I'll go into what the difference between a flat and a raised spot is. Flat spots are just like usually little beauty spots. I mean, they can be bigger, I guess, but usually when you run your finger over a spot, you won't be able to feel the texture. So that's usually like a flat beauty spot. However, with raised spots, when you run your finger over that mole or that beauty spot, you'll be able to feel the texture and you can feel that it's slightly raised above the skin. So those are the 2 types of moles that you can have removed. With the 2 types, there's 2 procedures. So they'll be completely different in the way they get removed as well. So then that brings me to my next question. It is, what procedures did you get? So as I was saying, there are 2 types of moles. There are raised moles and there are flat moles. I'll go through flat moles first. So with flat moles, it is the easiest process. He literally takes a little zapper, laser zap, I don't even know what you freaking call it. It's just a laser, and he will zap the spot and it disperses the pigment, and basically I wouldn't say disperses the pigment straight away, but that's essentially what it is. It's basically getting rid of the pigment in the area that he zaps it in. And it really doesn't feel like anything. If I could compare it to something, it's kind of like laser hair removal, but imagine getting your whole leg or bikini line removed and it's just zaps after zaps after zaps. This is literally one zap in that area and you're done, and you can barely feel anything. Obviously some areas with more pigment will naturally hurt a bit more than others, but I wouldn't even say it hurts. It's like a pinch, like I said. The treatment, honestly, getting the 9 flat spots removed with that laser, lasted about 5 or 10 minutes max. And so the next treatment that I got was radio frequency. It's a little bit different. It is not a laser. So essentially what it is in layman's terms, I'm probably not really describing this treatment in the most scientific way, but I'm just describing it in a way so that you can understand what is actually done in the treatment. So basically what radio frequency is taking that mole and shaving it down so that the surface is flat. So in that process, not only are you taking away the skin to shave it down so it's flat, but in that skin there's color, and that is what makes up the mole or the beauty spot. So when you shave down that skin, you're taking the skin and the color with it. But with that being said, you do not always take away all of the color completely, because a mole is just not only the color in that raised surface, but there is color beneath the mole as well. So that's when it gets a little bit confusing for some people. It doesn't become a once-off treatment. Sometimes it does. So in my case, I got the 3 moles removed with radio frequency. So the 3 of them got shaved down flat because they were raised, and so we need to shave it down. One of them, which was next to my eyebrow, when it got shaved down, pretty much all of the color came out of it because there was no color actually in the root or underneath the skin, but most of the color was just on the top. So when he shaved it, it looked like it had completely disappeared. With the 2 on my forehead, even though it was raised, the color was very, very dark, which meant that there was most likely going to be color underneath. And he goes through all of this with you in the consultation. So you're not going to be blindsided and think, oh my God, I thought I was just going to do 1 session, but it has to be 2. You pretty much arrive on the day and you know what's going to happen. There is nothing that is a surprise. But I already knew that going into it, these 2 would still have color underneath, and it did still have color underneath. It was still a lot lighter, but there was still pigment underneath. That is what radio frequency is. It's a hot tool, and it pretty much uses heat, I believe, to shave off the surface of the skin, but it's pretty much creating an open wound. But you're shaving off the surface to make it flat, because even if you laser it, you can get rid of the color, but you're not really getting rid of the height and the raised surface. So that's why you need to do 2 types of treatments with those raised moles. So with this one here, potentially I may not have to get laser in the second session, but with the 2 up here in the second session, I'll have to go back and get them lasered off like the first 9 that I got done, because now that that raised surface is gone, it's time to get rid of the pigment underneath. So the next question is it painful? And like I said with the laser before, in my opinion, it is not painful. It's like a quick zap. However, with the radio frequency, it is not painful either, but you do get local anesthetic. So he basically popped it in 1, 2, and 3. You do not feel anything. Towards the very end of the treatment, I felt like there was a bit of warmth from the tool, but it wasn't like painful or anything like that, so you don't feel anything, which is great. The radio frequency treatment probably went for about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, it wasn't a very long session or anything like that. The next question is, how much did it cost? With the raised spots, so 1, 2, 3, it was $395 for the first spot. And so thereafter, every additional spot is $150. So it was $395, $150, $150. So in total, it was $695 for those types of moles. For all the lasered spots that I had, the 9 other spots, it was $395 as well, but it was a flat rate. So basically you get to pay $395, but you can zap off anything that you like or that he can see. Some of the spots he was zapping off, I could barely even see, but I was like, go for it, seriously, go ham, because I'm already paying for it anyway. Then you also have to pay for an aftercare pack, which is $75 as well. So in total, with the aftercare pack and all the treatments included, I paid $1,165. And this doesn't include that next session that I'm going to next time. It's all just for that day. And another thing to keep in mind is that you also do have to pay for the consultation. So I had a consultation a couple of days before, and I was really lucky that I managed to get a booking a couple of days later to actually do the treatment. But in that consultation, I think it was like 120, could be less, could be like $100, but you end up getting a Medicare rebate anyway. And I got $75 or $70 back from Medicare, so it worked out to be not too bad, so it's all good. But I just don't know if you can get any rebates on the treatment unless you have like private health, and even in that instance, I don't really know. I have extras cover, but I knew for a fact that that wasn't going to get covered in any way. But it just depends on what your private health insurance will cover for you, if that makes sense. So the next question is there any downtime or recovery process. If you get radio frequency, which is the shaving down of the skin, there is a 2-week like downtime. Basically, you can't really wear, or you shouldn't really wear, any makeup or anything like that. Use any actives like retinol, anything like that, exfoliants, whatever, you name it. Pretty much all I used was sunscreen and moisturizer and the ointment that he gave me. Basically, it's an open wound and you just don't really want anything in there. You don't really want anything touching it. However, after the treatment, you can work out, you can sweat, you can do whatever. You just have to make sure that area is clean, which you'll take care of with the Aftercare pack anyway. But there is technically a downtime of not wearing makeup and using very active skincare, but in terms of like doing your daily activities like sweating and showering and washing your face, there's no issue with that. You can do whatever you want. With the laser treatment, it was more of a 7-day period where you just wanted to apply the ointment constantly, but there wasn't really anything major with that you really had to be careful of. I think the laser treatment is a little bit easier than the radio frequency. Again, it's an open wound, so that's why the radio frequency requires a little bit more. It just needs a bit more care, I suppose. Obviously, you need to be wearing so much sunscreen after this treatment. Yeah, just for obvious reasons. So what is the Aftercare? So the Aftercare for the radio frequency spots, the ones where it gets shaved down. With that one, I found it to be really tedious, but it wasn't terrible. Honestly, it was very easy. I just was like, by the 10th day, I was so over it because my skin started breaking out from the ointment that I had to apply. And you can still see it too. So 1 mole, 2 mole, but you can see that a lot of the breakouts are surrounding the moles. And that was the frustrating part, but you know, it is what it is. Take one for the team. You had to pop the ointment on and then you had to tape it down with some like bandage tape. If I've got it somewhere here. It is this ointment here. It's prescription only, so he gives you that in the Aftercare pack, and then he gives you a lot of different band-aids as well. For the first 2 or 3 days, I did use the actual band-aids that he gave me because I felt like these strips were too rough to put on an open wound, and some of them were still sort of bleeding, so I just didn't want to put this straight on there. I used a band-aid because with the band-aids there's a bit of a cotton pad in the middle, so it doesn't stick directly onto the open wound, which I found, yeah. Anyway, so pretty much for 2 weeks straight you're just cutting little pieces and popping the ointment on and then popping this on top to cover it. You do that for 14 days and you do it 3 times a week. So with the laser scars, it's a little bit different. It is not as complex and tedious. You're pretty much just applying this cream here. It's a gel. So it's a silicone gel just to stop the spot from drying out. The one thing you don't want to do is dry out the areas too quickly because then it scabs and it can scar. So you just want to make sure you've got this on top and it just slowly just falls off. But it doesn't ever feel like a huge scab like flaking off. It just comes off without you even noticing it, and that's what you want. After all these 7 days and the 14 days for the radio frequency, you then can stop doing all of that. However, with the spots from the radio frequency, they do recommend that you apply this for 3 months, the silicone cream. Next question, when do you see results? So he's told me that usually at the 3-month mark is when you'll see the final results. Whether you go back or not to do your 2nd and 3rd treatment will change that as well, obviously. Usually the 3-month mark is when you'll see the final results. And honestly, even after like a week, I could already tell that I was very happy with the results because most of the lasered spots had already flaked off and a lot of the color had disappeared. But they've just become very like light and fair spots. There's some areas that haven't exactly come off yet, and only one spot really, and it's the one above my brow. So I thought that one would come off really quickly, but it hasn't. That's totally fine. I'm not even fussed because usually I use that spot to draw in my brow and it really helps guide me, so I'm not even mad. But I think at some point when I go back for the 2nd time to get these 2 removed, I will say just get rid of that again. I think some spots are just more stubborn than others, but honestly, my whole face, most of the spots have just dropped off and fallen off. Will I have to go back to do a 2nd session? Short answer is yes, because I just covered it in some of the other questions. I will have to go back to do a 2nd session, and even though a lot of the spots have fallen off from the lasered spots, like they're quite light and you can barely even see it, like they're just under the eye. That spot there, you can really barely see it. There was one in my hairline that was really dark. Barely see it. It's very light. I would go back and just get it done and get rid of it completely since I'm already paying for the other spots on my forehead, so I will be going back He usually tells you at the consultation anyway that most of the time the best results come from 2 sessions. And the lucky last question that I have is, why did I get it done? It's just been bothering me a lot in the past 2 or 3 years, maybe 3, because that's when I first did the consultation. But it's just been bothering me for ages, and I don't know why. I think once you see something on your face, you cannot unsee it. Once it starts shitting you, there's no going back, like that's it, which is so frustrating. And a lot of the times no one will notice. Obviously I've gotten them removed, and I've spoken to some people who didn't even notice that I had moles, and I'm just like, it's literally the only thing I can see in the mirror, so I don't know how no one else saw it. But with that being said, a lot of people did notice my moles as well. This is gonna sound so ridiculous, but in Asian culture, sometimes certain moles and stuff are bad luck, and my parents would always remind me to get them removed. The camera just cut out, how fucking rude. Anyway, so as I was saying, my parents would always point out my moles and stuff and tell me it's bad luck, you should get it removed. And I'm like, are you gonna pay for it? Because I don't have money. But yeah, anyway, it was just this like back and forth thing for ages, and it was just annoying me. And the more I looked at it, it was annoying me even more, but not because I thought it was bad luck and I believed him or anything like that. I don't believe in that shit. Like, your mole is your mole, like as simple as that. But it was just that, and then me already not liking the moles. And then I would notice that people would be talking to me but not looking at me in the eye, but staring at my moles on my forehead, which was like not their fault in any way, but I was just like, damn, I feel even more self-conscious now. And then there would be people that would accidentally mistake my forehead moles for something stuck to my face, and it is in no way their fault. It's just like, oh my god, okay, I know it's there, it's time to get it removed. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know if you're going to get your moles removed or not, but I hope it was quite informative and I covered everything that you might need to know and want to know. But if you have any other questions, please DM me or please comment below. I will try to get back to you in the most timely manner. I'm not the best with replying all the time, but I will try. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.